Tibet is a land rich in spirituality, distinct cultural traditions, and stunning natural beauty, all nestled amidst the majestic Himalayas. Tibet is a place where the sky appears to touch the earth, surrounded by towering peaks. Our journey today will explore the essence of Tibet, where the people's stories combine solemnity and simplicity. Fascinating customs like the fraternal polyandry system will be found here. According to this custom, a woman marries 2 or more of her siblings, typically brothers, at the same time. This unusual marital arrangement, which has its roots in social customs and economic needs, gives Tibetan society a fascinating and complex new dimension. We will also investigate the plateau's nomadic herders, whose tents are dispersed throughout the huge expanse of land akin to stars in the night sky. We will also visit peaceful Buddhist monasteries run by Tibetan monks, where we can become fully immersed in a world of age-old spiritual teachings and practices. Come along with us as we explore Tibet's many facets and the tales that have shaped its people and customs. Tibet is frequently referred to as the world's roof. Tibet is a region almost the size of Western Europe, and it is very significant geographically, culturally, and spiritually. China includes Tibet, particularly the Tibet Autonomous Region, as a significant component. The size almost doubles when we extend our view to the whole Tibetan Plateau. Tibet is the highest region on Earth, with an average elevation of about 4,900 meters. At this great height, visitors can experience a 40% reduction in available oxygen, which is significantly lower than at sea level. For those unaccustomed to it, such thin air can cause altitude sickness. Notwithstanding these difficulties, Tibet is known for its pure and clean air, which provides tourists with breathtaking views of the country's vast landscapes and unusually blue skies. Tibet is one of the world's most remote places because of its exceptional combination of natural beauty and challenge, offering adventurous people an unforgettable experience. Tibet's population has remarkably adapted to these extreme circumstances. Tibetans have distinct physiological reactions that enable them to survive in low oxygen environments, in contrast to those at sea level. They do not maintain the same blood hemoglobin levels as the majority of people who live at high altitudes. Tibetans have genetically adapted to maintain lower hemoglobin level, preventing excessive blood thickening and lowering the risk of blood clots and strokes, while others may suffer from polycythemia. Tibet's winters can be extremely frigid, with some regions experiencing temperatures as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Summers, on the other hand, are surprisingly cool, seldom rising above 68 degrees Fahrenheit. This climatic paradox, which contrasts sharply with Tibet's near-equatorial location, adds to the special and difficult circumstances that form the breathtaking landscape of Tibet. Rare species, such as the Tibetan antelope, which is valued for its warm, fine wool, can be found on the Tibetan Plateau. The iconic yak, which provides meat, milk, wool, and uses it as a pack animal, is essential to the ecosystem in the area. Tibet's biodiversity is further enhanced by the presence of the Tibetan wolf, brown bear, sand fox, and Pallas cat. The difficulty for ancient nomads was keeping their livestock safe from attackers. In order to combat this, they carefully bred the Tibetan Mastiff, a powerful and elegant member of the Mastiff breed. These Mastiffs still possess the tenacity and instincts needed to survive in the inclement climate of Tibet and the Himalayan region. Due to their rarity, Tibetan Mastiffs are among the most expensive dog breeds in the world. They are distinguished by their large bodies, thick double coats of fur, and strong pack behaviors. This extraordinary breed represents the Tibetan people's resourcefulness and flexibility in navigating coexistence with the varied wildlife in their area. In Tibet, polyandry, the practice of a woman having multiple husbands, is ingrained in both the country's cultural and economic traditions. Fraternal polyandry is the term for the practice of brothers sharing a single wife in traditional Tibetan polyandry. This arrangement, though unusual from a Western standpoint, provides workable answers to many of the social and economic problems that Tibetans face. The Tibetan Plateau's severe climate and scarcity of arable land make it economically challenging to support large families or divide property among siblings, which may jeopardize their chances of surviving. Families and land ownership have been preserved thanks in part to polyandry, especially in cases of fraternal polyandry in which brothers have one wife each. This procedure ensures economic sustainability by acting as a useful resource management tactic. There are also a lot of social and family advantages to polyandry. It improves relationships within the family, reduces the likelihood of disputes arising from property inheritance, and fosters a strong sense of group responsibility and cooperation within these families. Since every child is regarded as the progeny of every husband, a stable home environment is created for raising children. There are several men who help with child rearing and welfare, but the wife is the main provider, manages the home, and has a big say in family affairs. Due to the combined efforts of multiple husbands, polyandrous families typically enjoy greater economic stability and wealth than monogamous ones. This is because polyandrous families utilize their land more efficiently and produce better economic results. Despite its historical importance, Tibet's polyandry has decreased as a result of exposure to outside cultural norms, economic modernization, land reforms, and increased mobility. Anthropologists and sociologists are still interested in Tibetan polyandry despite its decline. How do you feel about this kind of behavior? I'll be able to produce even more interesting content with your input. Kindly leave a comment below and let's talk. We will next discover how many significant rivers in Asia have been supplied by the pure water sources found in Tibet. Tibet is a vital actor on the international scene because of its enormous water wealth. After the Arctic and Antarctic, Tibet is the world's third largest reservoir of water and ice. This area provides almost half of the world's population with life, thanks to its breathtaking lakes, rivers, and glaciers. Asia's water tower. Tibet provides fresh water that is essential to 47% of the world's population. Several significant Asian rivers, including the Yangtze, Yellow, Indus, Mong, and Brahmaputra, have their origins in Tibet. These rivers, which receive their water from the Tibetan Plateau's glaciers, are essential to billions of people living in many different nations. Some of the highest saltwater lakes on Earth are high-altitude lakes, such as Lake Namo, which is located at an approximate elevation of 15,000 feet. In addition to their stunning beauty, these lakes play a significant role in regulating the climate and ecosystem of the area. Tibet's water resources are vital to the region and the world at large, affecting the lives and livelihoods of countless people. This water-rich region's delicate balance supports a variety of ecosystems and emphasizes how interconnected the water resources are throughout the world. Tibet is home to the amazing black diamond apple, which is notable for its sparse vegetation because of the region's high altitude and frigid temperatures. This unusual apple is distinguished by its intensely purple, nearly black skin, which is a result of the strong UV light at high elevations. The black diamond apple is renowned for its exceptionally juicy and sweet flesh, which offers the ideal balance of sweetness and tartness, but it's not just about appearances that make this apple special. These apples are known as luxury fruit because of their difficult growing conditions and small yield. They are expensive and rare. The price of an apple can range from $7 to $120 depending on the season and market. Prepare to learn about Tibet's fascinating past and the meaning behind the Tibetan flag. I have a special 10-second request for each and every listener before we move on. Simply clicking the subscribe button would be really appreciated if you could assist me in any way. It is really helpful to this channel, and if you could do that for me, I guarantee that my crew and I will work tirelessly to make this show even better for you. Are we in agreement? The ancient Zhangjiang culture and the native Bon religion are the roots of the Tibetan people. Since a large portion of the history of this early era comes from oral traditions and later Buddhist texts, it is still largely unknown. The introduction of the Tibetan script in the 7th century marked a significant advancement in the historical record-keeping practices of the Tibetan people. Tibet's cultural and historical legacy was greatly preserved by this writing system. In addition, ancient Tibet was a major hub for a larger trading network. Tibet's advantageous location along the Silk Road allowed it to develop into a hub linking vast east-west trade networks. An important period of expansion and influence began with the establishment of the Tibetan Empire in the 7th century, under the leadership of Emperor Sonam Gampo. Tibetan history was significantly shaped by Emperor Sonam Gampo. He is credited with founding Lhasa as the capital of the empire and supervising the building of the first Buddhist temples in Tibet, which include the hallowed Jang and Roche temples. During this time, the Tibetan script and currency also developed, indicating the emergence of an advanced and centralized government. Beginning in the 11th century, monastic Buddhism experienced a significant rise in popularity. Numerous monasteries and schools were founded during this time, greatly influencing the development of Tibetan society. These monasteries developed into thriving hubs for education, artistic expression, and communal life, in addition to being places of worship. As Tibet's temporal and spiritual leaders from the 14th century onward, the Dalai Lamas represent a special fusion of governance and religion in Tibetan society. Tibet saw turbulent changes in the 20th century, including more interactions and confrontations with China, its neighbor. Despite Tibet's early century declaration of independence, this claim was not acknowledged by most other countries. When the People's Republic of China seized power in Tibet in 1950, profound political and social changes resulted. The Dalai Lama established the Tibetan government in exile in Dharamshala after requesting asylum in India in the wake of the 1959 Tibetan uprising. This momentous occasion signified the start of the global Tibetan freedom movement and a major turning point in Tibetan resistance. The Chinese government appointed its own Panchen Lama in 1995 after realizing that Buddhism was a religion that was practiced widely in China. This choice markedly deviated from that of the current Dalai Lama, whose chosen successor is still hiding in China and was made 6 years after the passing of the previous Panchen Lama. The Panchen Lama, the government-appointed leader of Tibet, is widely recognized in stark contrast to the 14th Dalai Lama's image, which is illegal and subject to fines or imprisonment. For many Tibetans, this disparity represents a conscious effort on the part of the Chinese government to erode Tibetan identity and culture. The Tibetan flag is prohibited from being flown anywhere in the nation as a result of this prohibition. On tops, however, are Chinese flags. The Tibetan flag, also referred to as the Snow Lion flag or the Free Tibet flag, is a potent representation of the national identity of the Tibetan exile community and the government in exile. Two snow lions facing each other representing the nation's fearlessness and victory are at the center of this historic flag. They are holding a flaming jewel which stands for the Tibetan people's abundance both materially and spiritually. Above them, a bright sun with outstretched rays represents freedom and the care of all beings, two concepts that are common in Buddhist symbolism. The 10 directions of Buddhism in the spirit of world peace and happiness are represented by the sun's blue rays. A golden border encircling the sun and lions is customarily connected to the dissemination of Buddhist teachings. The rich storytelling tradition of Tibet is an essential component of the culture, passing down spiritual beliefs, moral principles, and historical accounts to future generations. Epic stories are more than just literary masterpieces. The tale of King Gesar, for example, is acknowledged by Guinness World Records as the longest epic. They embody Tibet's cosmology, history, and values. Tibetan culture is centered around music and dance. Chants and secular songs performed on instruments like the damyen, lingbu, and drums are examples of traditional Tibetan music. Tibetan dances range from more secular folk dances in villages and towns to the sacred cham dances carried out by masked monks in monasteries. These dances teach moral lessons and preserve folklore in addition to providing entertainment. Monks in Tibetan cities live their daily lives centered around customary debates, which are an essential component of their education. Monks engage in lively discussions during these debates, challenging one another and exploring a wide range of Buddhist teaching topics. Mealtimes are a time when simplicity and self-control are crucial. The non-violent principles of Buddhism are reflected in the meals, which are typically vegetarian and demonstrate the monks' dedication to their spiritual path. In Tibetan monasteries, the afternoons are devoted to group rituals, meditation, and individual study. These practices, which represent spiritual transformation, are essential to their everyday lives and include chanting, singing, and building elaborate sand mandalas. Monks get together for evening prayers and meditation as dusk approaches, taking stock of the day and getting ready for sleep. The Monlam Prayer Festival is one of many annual events that adds to the spiritual fabric of Tibetan monasteries, illuminating the richness of their customs and beliefs. In contrast to popular belief, Tibetan nuns reside in sizable settlements called annas. These women devote their lives to practicing Tibetan Buddhism and live mostly in nunneries, much like male monks do. They have a strong desire to serve their communities and further their spiritual development. Although their daily schedules and spiritual practices are similar to those of male monks, they reside in more intimate and smaller quarters. A great desire for enlightenment and freedom from the sufferings of this world is often the driving force behind the decision to become a nun. Astrology, or Tsi, is very important in Tibetan culture. Based on the precise time and date of each individual's birth, these astrological charts are created with great care. These charts help people make important decisions and provide guidance throughout life. For example, astrological analysis is frequently used to determine marital compatibility because it can predict harmony and prosperity in a relationship based on the positions of the stars and planets at birth. Tibetan medicine and astrology are related fields of study. And that concludes the video for today. If you like the video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button.